Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Unlearning Lab with JAR Consulting Group. I am here joined by Kevin Wozmansky, president, owner, founder, CEO, and mailroom clerk of JAR Consulting Group. How are we doing today, Kevin?
Good, Mike. At some point you're going to run out of extra job titles for me. So I'm mailroom clerk. That's true. I check the post office box from time to time. So, okay, I'll give you that one.
Okay, fair enough. So, I'll never run out because guess what? You taught me how to use AI. Okay, so let's get into what's important here. So Kevin, on our last episode, we were talking about Google reviews. And so in this day and age, with AI, we need to talk about how important are Google reviews for my business now that more people are using AI and large language models. So the general consensus is probably, well, I don't need that anymore if it's shifting this way. So this is going to be your favorite episode that we've done because that's really my only question. And guess what? You get to do 90% of the talking on this one.
You know what? How important are Google reviews for my business in this new AI world? The answer is critical, more than they used to be. Google reviews are more critical now than ever, but not for the reasons that they used to be. Traditional search engines today, Mike, traditional search engines back in the day, 6 months ago, they were looking at the quantity of stars, whereas large language models read the actual text to judge your brand sentiment, the authenticity, and your real world capabilities. So when people say how important are Google reviews, more important than they used to be. So, I mean, Google reviews are the primary data source for generative engine optimization. Okay. Large language models, they analyze user review text to help them determine the sentiment analysis to establish brand trust. So, when you think about like, how do LLMs identify the business attributes and like verify operational recency? All of this stuff comes in, and whereas a consumer that's looking to buy a product or hire a service, we're looking at reviews and we're trying to establish, do we trust this business? What's interesting is that's what the machines are doing. But unlike traditional search engines, they were really measuring 4.2 stars. That's how they measured it. Whereas AI goes in and reads all the reviews. So Google reviews have become right now, they're a primary driver of what large language models are doing to help determine sentiment and give recommendations.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. So I bet you somewhere in your briefcase, you've got some data that supports this.
Well, Mike, yes, I do. So you can read all kinds of things out there, but it's pretty much, it's a consensus. The data that settles this debate, as I call it, 93% of consumers read online reviews before making a purchase decision and hiring a business. Businesses with a 4+ or 4-star ratings typically earn 70% more clicks. So when we work with businesses, we're like, I don't really care if you're at 4.0 or 4.9, just be at 4 or above. Right. 3.8, 3.9, you kind of get this like, hey, let's really work to bring that up. So there's some data points for you right there, but I think it goes without saying that most people, they read Google reviews before they buy or before they hire someone. So, AI, large language models, they're doing the same thing. So when you talk about how do reviews directly impact Google rankings, things like review quality, review quantity, quality, velocity, how fast do new reviews come in? And this is a critical part. Do the owners respond to the reviews? I can't stress this enough. That is so important, that not only are reviews coming in, how do you rank, the quantity, the quality, but is the owner replying to all reviews?
So that's interesting to me because I remember when we were really deep into this and how you emphasize to every business owner, respond, 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 because people want to see. People want to see. What you're saying now is machines want to see. Machines want to see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, still
People as well.
critical. Yeah, humans, but when you think about responding to reviews, that's positive and negative. So, the thing about a negative review is you get your chance to tell your side of the story, right? And that's it's I've always told all our clients, customers are going to read the response and make a decision. Do I believe the person that left the review, or do I believe the business owner? Trust me, we all seen crappy reviews that were fraudulent, fake. I can't even tell you how many times I've seen a business's competitors go in and write crappy reviews. So it's important that you're getting to tell your side of the story and you're responding to reviews for humans and also for machines now, because the machines are trying to make the same decision. Do I think that was a bogus bad review or not? When you are responding to positive reviews, it shows that you're a responsive business. So that again matters to humans. It matters to machines.
That's pretty cool. So like you were saying before, you've got to have a strategy when you're doing this. So I'm just curious, could you share with me and everyone else what JAR Consulting Group, what you guys tell your clients and what your strategies are to help with this?
So JAR Consulting Group, we tell every single client Google reviews are, they aren't just social proof for human customers. They're authority signals that AI systems actively use to go out and decide who they are going to recommend and who they trust. Google reviews have changed dramatically over time, where 3, 4, 5 years ago, it just, some people looked at reviews, to now, again, 93% of people will read a review before they make a decision to buy or hire someone. That's, to me, that's all the proof you need right there. We set up systems within our business that we implement for other companies. And again, it's setting up a system and asking your customers to leave you a review, to give you a recommendation. And that's where most businesses fall down, Mark, because they don't have a process in place that will send out an email asking for a review. I mean, send out a text message. You're 5 times more likely to get someone to respond and give you a review if you send them a link with a text, as opposed to an email. And yet most businesses don't do that. So that's one of the primary things that we do at JAR Consulting Group, is we help businesses implement systems and processes just to easily ask for a review.
Perfect. So, I think the takeaway, I know this is a little bit shorter episode, and but the takeaway on this is Google reviews are so massively important, and probably even are they more important now, less important, or equally important as they used to be?
They've always been really important. I think they're more important in today's world, because in the past we were primarily looking at reviews for our consumers, for prospects, for customers. And we still are. They are still every bit as important for that. But now machines are reading every single review, and that's how they're getting sentiment. Other episodes we've done, Mike, we've talked about large language model sentiment training. What is the sentiment they have about your business? What better way for them to establish sentiment than to see what your customers and other people are saying about your business, right? So I would definitely say that your Google reviews are far more important in this new world of business with AI than previous.
I agree, because when I'm on Amazon and shopping for my Speedo for my upcoming cruise, I'm reading reviews, and I'll read 3 or 4. The machine reads all of them.
You know what, Mike? That is probably the most important point to convey to our listeners, and is that a human might look at 4 or 5 or 6 reviews and make a decision, but imagine you've got 100 reviews. AI just read every single one of them. Not just
in
on you,
milliseconds.
not just on you, but on every single one of your competitors in your industry. They read every review. That's just it's kind of mind-boggling to think about that.
So that right there kind of I think drives our point home for the day, because you know how many people are going, yeah, you're right. I read 2. I read your most efficient people read 10 probably, I would
At
say.
most.
I'm saying that's a very deep diver right there.
Hey,
Where
one other thing to think about too. Most people, when they go to look at reviews, they will start with the negative reviews. I do this. I think it's human nature. I like this. Yes, right. You go up and you sort and you'll look at low. You want to see the bad reviews. And then I'll go look at the good reviews. But this is a benefit, I think, of AI is it reads every review. So
yep,
you might have 2 or 3 crappy reviews and 100 great reviews. Think about that from a sentiment standpoint. So, I think that's an important thing to think about, because human nature, if I read one review, I'm like, oh, that really sounded like it's a cheap, crappy product, I'm not going to buy it. AI just read every one of them. So,
yep. So perfect. I think that we now know that reviews are just massively important to your business, even more so. The other thing that, and one last point, and I'm kind of droning on here, and now I'm pulling to Kevin, but I'm going to ask you, the other thing is, I've also noticed when I read reviews, hardly ever do I look at the date of when it was done. Sometimes I do, but AI knows that this review is 4 years old, where I'm not really paying attention. Like you said, well, what are the negatives? Click, sort them out, and I read the negatives. 90% of the time, I don't even look at the date.
yeah. Yeah. And that's a great point to bring up too, because when you talk about recency and relevancy, it sees every single one of the reviews. And so the point there is businesses that have a strategy and systems in place to continually generate new and consistent reviews are going to have a huge leg up on competitors. Some businesses, I mean, if you're a restaurant, everybody wants to go there. It's easy to leave reviews, right? They're going to have a lot of reviews. You get into certain industries, especially in the B2B space, B2B industries, it's just a lot different, right? In terms of reviews, and there are industries, like if you're talking about medical, where you have things like HIPAA you have to comply with, and so even asking for reviews sometimes becomes a challenge. Okay, or if you can ask, right? Again, so, but here's my point: you need to have a strategy and a process to continue to get reviews, because that is currently one of the absolute best places for large language models to determine sentiment about your business.
Perfect. Thanks, Kevin. I really, today was a good talk. And it just drove our point home. So, I don't know what we're going to talk about next time. I guess we'll have to figure that out over a Pepsi or a Mountain Dew or something.
We'll talk about your cruise, right? You're going to be gone for a week, so maybe we can talk about how did Mike use AI on his big fancy Caribbean cruise he's taking. All right.
You know what? Actually, I bet you I can come up with some stuff as I'm out and about around the world. Honestly.
Okay, that'll be your assignment, Mike. When you're floating out in the ocean, you got to think about how to use AI on a cruise ship or in a vacation world. That'd be a fun one to talk about.
It is. I mean, and for a paid assignment, that's really good. So I'll see you next time, and we'll figure something out.
Take care, bud. Have a good trip.